Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cryptids and Critters Paranormal. I'm your host and founder, the Dooster. Today is March 25th, 2024. Today I'm going to talk to you about some solar flares and take a look back in history at a major solar flare that caused havoc worldwide back in 1860. This was known as the Carrington Event. Before I get into that, as many of you know, I'm a historian and I've published 10 books. All are available on Amazon. They include Execution of Murder, 1810 through 1910, Something Wicked, which is the Bell Witch phenomenon, Trials and Tribulations, Lights Out, which is the murder of L.S. LaPrade, A Ridge Too Far, which chronicles the life of Colonel Cyrus Sugg, Vigilante Justice, which chronicles the Reconstruction period after the war between the states in Robertson County. I wrote Ghostly Whispers, which is my life as a ghost hunter. Season of the Critters, which concerns Bigfoot, Dogman, and several other unknown critters in the county. Eye in the Sky, which is my UFO book. And 12 O'Clock High, which is about the UFO chase of Captain Thomas Mantell. All of my books are available, on Amazon. They're also available at Moss's Restaurant and the Bell Schoolhouse in Adams, the Robertson County Archives on Willow Street in Springfield, and from my home-based Soggy Bottom bookstore. If you do want an autographed signed copy, shoot me an email to ghosthunter911@gmail.com, and I'll make sure you get your own personal copy delivered right to your home. I do accept Venmo, PayPal, friends and family, Cash App, plus I do take personal checks. And now let's go to today's history lesson. I call this the Carrington Event. The Carrington Event was a large solar storm that took place at the beginning of September 1859, just a few months before the solar maximum of 1860. In August of 1859, astronomers around the world watched with fascination as the number of sunspots on the solar disk grew. Among these observers was a guy named Richard Carrington, who was an amateur sky watcher in a small town called Red Hill, which is near London in England. On September 1st, as Carrington was sketching the sunspots, he was blinded by a sudden flash of light. Carrington described it as a white light flare, and it lasted about 5 minutes. The flare was a major coronal mass ejection, which is also known as a CME, which is a burst of magnetized plasma from the sun's upper atmosphere, known as the corona. In a little over 17 hours, the CME traversed over 90 million miles between the sun and Earth and unleashed its incredible force. This equates to over 5.3 million miles per hour. CMEs usually take several days to reach the Earth. Now, the day after Carrington observed the impressive flare, Earth experienced an unprecedented geomagnetic storm, with telegraph systems going haywire and auroral displays, which are normally confined to the polar latitudes, were visible as far south as Cuba. It didn't take Carrington very long to realize that the solar flare he had seen was almost certainly the cause of this massive geomagnetic disturbance. The solar storm of 1859 is now known as the Carrington Event in his honor. The origins of this event can be traced to contortions in the sun's magnetic field, leading to dark blotches or sunspots on the surface. And it's from these spots that solar flares, CMEs, and other electromagnetic phenomena can emerge, with potentially hazardous consequences for our technological way of life. Sunspot activity rises and falls on an 11-year cycle, and we're currently approaching the next solar maximum in 2025. So now is a good time to take a look at the worst solar storms and possibly make some preparations for such. The Carrington Event, with the equivalent energy of 10 billion atomic bombs, spewed electrified gas and subatomic particles rapidly toward the Earth, and the resulting geomagnetic storm, which was the largest on record to have struck the planet. The huge geomagnetic storm wreaked havoc with technology, and Earth fell silent as telegraph communications around the world failed. Telegraph lines literally burned off the telegraph poles and caused numerous grass and brush fires. There were reports of sparks showering from telegraph machines, operators receiving electric shocks, and papers set ablaze by the rogue sparks. All over the planet, colorful auroras illuminated the nighttime skies, and for many people around the world, this was their first time they'd ever witnessed the aurora and didn't know what to make of the brighter than usual skies. Some believed the end of the world had arrived, while others began to start their day after hearing the birds chirping, seeing the bright skies, and believing the sun had begun to rise, when in fact it was still nighttime. Striking auroras dazzled sky watchers all over the world, as a normal polar light shows stretched far beyond their usual ranges. So the northern lights were witnessed as far as Cuba and Honolulu, Hawaii, while the southern lights were seen as far north as Santiago, Chile. When telegraph workers returned to work the following day, the effects of the Carrington Event were still being felt, as the atmosphere was still very much charged. American Telegraph Company employees found it impossible to transmit or to receive dispatches, and were alarmed that if they unplugged their batteries, they could still transmit messages using only the aurora current. While solar storms rarely pose a direct threat to human life, there is a risk that they can impact safety-critical systems with their electromagnetic effects, from space-based communications, navigations, and weather forecasting services to electrical power distribution at ground level. This could possibly take out the electrical grid. I know it will affect your phones, and we'll discuss that here in a few minutes. It has been conjectured that a storm on the scale of the Carrington Event, if it happened today, would cause an internet apocalypse by causing large numbers of people and businesses to suddenly go offline. For this reason, adverse space weather is listed as one of the most serious natural hazards, and companies have a contingency to deal with a severe event such as this, if they have sufficient warning of them. The U.S. Atmospheric and Environmental Research Agency has estimated that if a Carrington-class event occurs today, it could result in damages of well over $2 trillion just in the U.S. alone. So when is the next Carrington event? Good question. Luckily for us, solar storms like the Carrington event only happen once every 500 years or so. Although solar storms with half that intensity of the Carrington event are much more frequent, occurring about one every 50 years. However, we cannot be certain when the next Carrington level event will occur, as space weather is notoriously difficult, if not impossible, to predict. Scientists at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration Space Weather Prediction Center analyze sunspot regions daily to assess the threats. They monitor and record changes in sunspot size, number, and position to evaluate the likelihood of an Earth-directed solar flare and or CME from an active region. NASA also has a fleet of spacecraft known collectively as the Heliophysics System Observatory, or HSO, designed to study the sun and the effects of space weather by using several planetary spacecraft that monitor the sun and measure its activity. The largest CMEs can contain billions of tons of solar material and burst out of the sun at up to 3,000 kilometers per second, according to NOAA's Space Weather Prediction Center. This material contains an embedded magnetic field, and its magnetic field can play havoc with the Earth's magnetic field when the two make contact. We know this has been happening since the beginning of time. A study reported in January of 2022 revealed that a powerful solar flare, which pummeled the Earth 9,200 years ago, left radioactive particles in the ice deep below Greenland that are still there to this day. Their studies indicate that from 2020, severe magnetic storms occurred in 42 of the preceding 150 years, which is far more than previously thought. It was discovered that a solar storm with a similar intensity of the Carrington Event hit Earth around 774 AD. Today major solar flares are a real and imminent danger to our electronics. They pose a real threat to our livelihood. I strongly suggest you store your important electronic devices, such as your phone, your tablet, and so forth, in a Faraday cage or a Faraday bag when not in use. These bags are readily available on Amazon and many websites. You can actually build your own Faraday cage, and there are several websites out there on YouTube that will show you how to do that. They're fairly simple to do. Anyway, I thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe to my channel, give it a like, and leave your comments below. Share this video with your friends and family. Turn on your notifications to stay abreast of future content, which I will try to drop at least one video per week. Once again, this is Dooster, the Cryptids and Critters Paranormal. Thank you for watching, and keep your eye out for any future videos. Stay safe out there. Be prepared. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.